Welcome back to The Explainer. You know, today we're taking a really fascinating and honestly super necessary deep dive into an incident that started out as just a viral pop culture moment, but rapidly turned into a serious, real-world case study in HR and labor law. If you've ever wondered exactly where the line is drawn between your private life and your professional identity in the digital age, well, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to completely unpack how a single night out upended a career and what that actually means for both companies and employees moving forward. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. 370 rupees. That's what, roughly the cost of a plate of chicken biryani? But in this particular story, that exact amount, just 370 rupees, ended up costing a 22-year-old web developer working in Gurugram his entire job. It sounds almost unbelievable, right? Like, no way! How does a minor expense on a casual night out trigger an instant corporate termination? Well, to figure that out, we really have to look at the context of where and how this money was spent, and honestly, more importantly, how it was spoken about.
So here's what happened. The employee in question, Himanshu Jangra, was just attending a stand-up comedy show, and during a crowdwork segment by the comedian Pranit Moore, Jangra was actually handed the microphone. He then proudly shared this story about spending 370 rupees on chicken biryani for a woman, and explicitly bragged that he sought sexual favors in return. Now, because this was a comedy show in the smartphone era, of course the clip was recorded, it was posted online, and it spread like wildfire. It went totally viral. What Jangra probably thought was just a quick joke for the room instantly became public, completely blurring the lines of professional conduct and sparking a massive public backlash. Once the clip hit social media, his employer, a company called Starvik Design, they did not wait around. They swiftly terminated him. But here's the kicker. They didn't just quietly let him go. They actually posted a video statement to the public confirming their decision. And this perfectly illustrates just how fast a company will move to distance itself from an employee to protect its brand reputation when an incident like this blows up online.
Section 4. The cost of a joke, a viral incident with real consequences. Section 5. Defining the virtual workplace, how off-duty conduct becomes an HR issue.
Now, what's really interesting about this is, you might be watching and thinking, well, wait a minute, it was just a bad joke told off the clock, right? What does his employer have to do with it? But we really need to look at this from an HR perspective. This wasn't just some PR crisis. It was a potential violation of absolute core workplace ethics. A misogynistic remark that sexualizes a transaction like that, it crosses several serious legal lines that modern businesses are strictly bound by. The legal backing for this perspective in India is the POSH Act of 2013, the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act. And a totally crucial aspect of POSH is that the definition of the workplace has significantly expanded. It's no longer just the four physical walls of your office building. It actually includes virtual spaces now, meaning highly inappropriate sexualized conduct that happens outside of standard office hours, totally off company premises, can still directly map to POSH principles and be treated as official workplace misconduct. Crazy, right?
Section 7. Brand safety versus due process, the legal tension in corporate terminations.
So this builds a massive dilemma for companies. Yes, in India, private firms absolutely have the right to terminate employees for conduct that violates company policy or the code of conduct, and that explicitly includes social media behavior. For sure, if a post damages the company's image, HR can act. However, Indian labor laws also strictly require a fair domestic inquiry before you can terminate someone for misconduct. You literally can't just hit the eject button without following the rules. So the absolute critical question becomes, was due process actually followed in this case, or was this purely a knee-jerk brand safety move? This is the immense tension that HR leaders face literally every single day. When a viral incident happens, you know the marketing and PR teams are often pushing to cut ties instantly just to stop the bleeding. But the legal team? They're constantly reminding them that if they skip that inquiry, they open the whole company up to a massive wrongful termination lawsuit.
So, you've got this tug-of-war. On one side, you have immediate brand safety, putting out the fire, addressing the internet backlash, and protecting the company's bottom line today. Gotta do it. But on the other side, you have fair domestic inquiry, an absolute legal requirement to pause, give the employee a fair chance to explain their side of the story, thoroughly document the findings, and make a decision based purely on hard evidence. Balancing these two forces is incredibly difficult, especially when the entire internet is loudly demanding instant justice.
Section 10. The HR Compliance Checklist, Gurmeet Singh's Playbook for Management. To actually navigate this minefield, we're drawing on some brilliant insights from Gurmeet Singh. He's the founder of CorporaZen, and he brings 3 decades of experience in human resources, industrial relations, and strategic leadership across a bunch of different sectors. He looked at this exact incident and put together a really actionable playbook for corporate leaders on exactly how to protect a company's reputation without violating labor laws. So, here's the practical checklist. First, update your code of conduct. You have to make sure it explicitly covers off-duty conduct and public events that could potentially harm the company's reputation. Second, train your people. Don't just talk about in-office behavior, train them on POSH, gender sensitivity, and exactly what constitutes digital harassment. Third, create a crystal-clear social media policy that explicitly defines unacceptable content. And fourth, when a viral incident does inevitably happen, you got to run a proper evidence-based inquiry. Document absolutely everything. You have to separate those emotional, brand safety decisions from strict legal compliance.
Section 12. Your permanent digital footprint. The blunt truth for young professionals.
Now, I want to shift focus directly to the young professionals watching this explainer. We've seen the corporate side, but what's the actual takeaway for you personally? Well, Gurmeet Singh built CorporaZen specifically to help young professionals navigate workplace culture, and his message here is completely unvarnished. The modern workplace has expanded, and the rules of engagement have fundamentally changed for us. What you might casually call a joke in a comedy club on a Saturday night can literally cost your career the very next morning. It's wild, but your digital footprint is permanent. In the age of smartphones, there's practically no such thing as an entirely private public space anymore. The second you step out the door, and especially the moment you step in front of a camera or a microphone, your public conduct is inextricably tied to your professional identity. The company's brand and your personal brand are linked, whether you like it or not.
We're going to wrap up the explainer today with this incredibly powerful quote. Professionalism does not stop when you leave the office. It's a really sobering reminder that clocking out at 5 p.m. doesn't mean you just clock out of your professional obligations. Your actions, your words, and your overall digital footprint, they carry a ton of weight long after the weekend is over. So I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought. If every single joke you told or comment you made off the clock was suddenly broadcast right to your employer's timeline, would your career survive the morning? Really think about that one. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.